Hey guys, I'm back and we are talking about Opal by Jennifer Armentrout. Opal, known by Kaylee over at K Books. I'll put a link in the description. She writes awesome book reviews, and she did a really good review on Opal. And according to her, it is the worst book cliffhanger ever. And so every time somebody says, "Oh my gosh, this book was such a cliffhanger," she's like, "But was it Opal bad?" Because if it wasn't Opal bad, it's not a cliffhanger. So this is Opal by Jennifer Armentrout. This is Lux number 4, so we're still in the Lux series. Main character is Katie, and her love interest, aka the other main character, is Damon Black, who's an alien. I know, but he's hot. This one, okay, so yes, it ends on a cliffhanger, but you get so much more of Katie and Damon's relationship. It grows so much in this book because you see them kind of working together as a team. And yeah, they still have snark and they still have arguments and there's things that they still have to deal with, but you get so much more growth out of their relationship. I love this book. I love the series. I love Kat and Damon. I love their snark. So I told you this one's more of Kat and Damon. You also get more of Dawson because Dawson has come back. He came back in the last book. Dawson wants to break into Mount Weather and get Beth out. And Damon and Kat end up making a deal with Dawson to work together in order to keep him from doing something, on his own that could end up getting him hurt. And they end up having to work with Blake. So they also get help from a guy named Luck. I think that's how you say it because it's spelled L-U-C. And you would think that's Luke, right? But Damon makes it a point to go, his name is L-U-C. So that makes me think it must be Luck. Like, who would name somebody Luck? So I think his name's Luck. Anyway, Will comes back. There's like so much. Everything is happening in this book. Kat and Dee start kind of mending their relationship, which you think is unmendable after the last book. And even in the beginning of this book, you think it's unmendable, but they actually kind of start to go back together, work on that, cross that bridge. They come across the bridge and make the bridge of friendship with one another. Like I said, it's a terrible cliffhanger. Literally. You don't know what's going to happen. But it was so good. So like I said, that's the review. Definitely 5 stars. Definitely read it. If you are looking for something to read the Lux series. So now for the recap, the more in-depth stuff or the spoilers. So I told you Dawson's back, right? So literally the first day that Dawson is home, he kills a Daedalus officer, which is this group within the DOD, and throws him through the window to Katie's room and lands on the floor. Because the guy was creeping around Katie's house. So things are tense with Dawson. Like I said, he wants to go get Beth, and he wants to go get Beth right now. And because he knows that Beth is being tortured, right? Because he was there, he knows some of what she's going through. Dee, we're talking about the beginning here. Dee kind of blames Kat and Damon for letting Blake go because Blake killed Adam, her boyfriend. Kat's mom has been talking to Will, which, if you remember from the last book, Will's the guy that basically dated Kat's mom to be able to spy on Kat. Yes, super creepy. It's super creepy. And Kat has not told her mom, because how's she going to tell her mom, hey, your boyfriend kidnapped me and hurt me, without telling her what happened, right, and what she is. So Damon and Kat actually get to go on a few dates, but they never really end well because something always happens. So Damon and Kat actually go for a dinner date, I think, and then when they're leaving, Dee calls and is like, Dawson made a run for it. So Damon goes after Dawson and he tells Kat, he's like, you go on home. But Kat follows Damon and she finds them fighting. And she has to kind of like break them up. And it's like, guys, you know, cut it out. And in order to get Dawson to kind of chill out, she's like, hey, look, if we help you get Beth, will you promise not to make any more like run for it on your own? And Dawson agrees. So, at school, Kat thinks she sees Blake, right? And she tells Damon that she thinks she saw Blake, but Damon's like, but are you sure? And she's like, well, no, you know, I just saw a trucker hat and assumed it was Blake. So, Dawson ends up coming back to school, and the same day that Dawson comes back to school, because they're like, you know, maybe if you have something to do and you can kind of keep your mind busy until we go get Beth. The same day Dawson comes back to school, friggin' Blake shows up in bio. Kat almost flips full-on hybrid in biology class. They make it to the stairs, and she attacks Blake. I mean, can you blame her? You know? And he asks for her help rescuing his friend Chris from Mount Weather. And she, of course, is like, why on earth would we help you? And he's like, well, if you don't, I'm going to turn you over to the DOD. I'm going to turn you over to Nancy Husher. Yeah. Nancy Husher's name keeps coming up, but we don't know. I'm sure it's something bad, but we don't really know. But her name keeps coming up. And she's like, well, then why don't we just kill you? And he's like, well, if you kill me, somebody's going to turn you over to Nancy Husher. So basically, he's blackmailing them into helping him rescue Chris. So they have a little alien meeting in the house with everybody, with the Thompsons, which is Andrew, Ash, and Dee, Matthew, Dawson, Damon, Kat, the whole shebang. And Damon decides that they should just work with Blake, because he's like, you know, he's blackmailing us, and we've got to help Dawson get Beth anyway, and, you know, two birds, one stone kind of thing. So Kat and Damon meet with Blake, who tells them, after they go through all this to decide they're going to work with Blake, he's like, well, I don't really know how to get into Mount Weather, but I know somebody who does. So they go to this nightclub in Martinsburg, West Virginia, and meet with Luck. I think it's Luck, who is also a hybrid. He has brown hair and purple eyes, which means he's a Targaryen, because they have purple eyes. That's for those Game of Thrones book readers, because that wasn't in the show. He's like 15, apparently. Like, he's this like young kid who's like uber smart and basically like a freaking alien mafia boss. I don't know. And he agrees to help them in exchange for a favor. So the crew has an alien meeting at Damon's house, and they come up with a plan, and everybody leaves, and then Kat and Damon have some alone time finally, because it seems like every time they try to have some alone time, something happens. They have some alone time, and Damon does all the things with his mouth, and then they're kind of arguing because he's like, I don't want you to go because I don't want anything to happen to you. And she's like, you know, too bad, so sad, I'm going. So then they have another date where they go to the movies, and when they get home, the elders are there. So Damon sends Kat home, and he leaves with Andrew, Ash, and Dee, and they go out to eat. And so Kat and Dawson kind of hang out, and Dawson tells her about Mount Weather, about all the things that they did to him and Beth. So they knew that he had healed Beth and had made Beth a hybrid, right? They wanted him to make other hybrids. So some of these humans volunteered. Some of them were taken against their will. Some of them were like homeless people that were taken off the streets in order to be used in these experiments. And so they would bring them in hurt, injured, and try and get Dawson to heal them. And then when that didn't work, they started hurting them in front of Dawson. And then when that still didn't work, they started hurting Beth in front of Dawson and would make him heal her over and over and over again. So, I mean, Dawson and Beth were really traumatized. I mean, they were tortured repeatedly. So when it comes time for them to go to Mount Weather, Luck gives them the door codes, right? And so they make it through the first door. They make it through the gate. They make it through the first door. And then they get to the tunnel, and they get sprayed with aerosolized onyx. Now, onyx is, if you remember from the book Onyx, which was book 3, the book before this one, that's what was on the handcuffs that they put on Cat. That's what was on the cage. Like it decreases the Luxon's powers. It cancels out their powers. So when they go through the tunnel, they actually get sprayed with aerosolized onyx, and Blake and Cat were in the front, so they go down. Dawson and Cat were in the front. They go down. So Blake, Andrew, and Damon grab Cat and Dawson and use their alien light speed thing to get them to a nearby river to wash the onyx off of them. Damon punches Blake. I mean, are we surprised? Like, is anybody surprised that Damon punched Blake? So Damon punches Blake because they could have all been captured and killed. Blake swears he didn't know anything. And so they're back at school. And Blake tells them, he's like, I've been thinking about it. And when we were at Mount Weather, the eating utensils we had were coated in onyx. We were constantly, repeatedly exposed to onyx. So I think maybe you can build up a tolerance. So when Kat gets home from school, Carissa, her friend, is in her bedroom. But Carissa is not Carissa. So supposedly Carissa got the flu and was sick. And then nobody's seen or heard from her. So Carissa just shows up in her bedroom. Carissa is wearing a black opal bracelet. And Carissa is like got shark eyes. Like there's nothing going on there. And she attacks Kat. And Kat is trying to like just avoid the attacks basically. Because this is her friend, right? She doesn't want to kill her friend. Well, Carissa just out of nowhere spontaneously combusts. And there's like nothing left. So Kat is just sitting there like in shock. Damon shows up and like comforts her and holds her and kind of talks to her in the Luxon language until she goes to sleep. And when she wakes up, Dee's there in the recliner and they actually kind of talk. And this is the first time they talk, I think, in the book because Dee's mad at Katie. And so it's kind of like a little step across the bridge to one another towards meeting in the middle. That's another country song. So the next day at school, Kat doesn't go to school the next day. She skips school because she's traumatized because she watched her friend like poof implode. So Damon actually leaves early to check on her. And then they go to the lake to practice with the onyx to find out if the tolerance thing is true. And Blake picks up the onyx and is able to hold it longer than Dawson, Damon, and Matthew. So they know that they can build a tolerance up. So Damon and Kat decide to go to that nightclub by themselves and talk to Luck by themselves to see about Carissa. See if he knows anything about Carissa and what happened with Carissa. So Kat tells Luck about the bracelet that Carissa was wearing. And he's like, well, hold up. What'd you say? What now? And he tells her that it's called a black opal. And apparently it's very expensive. Like you need like $30,000 to get a black opal. But it increases a Luxon or a hybrid's power. So it kind of like focuses their power and makes them more powerful. So they're training with the onyx, trying to build up a tolerance so they can make it into Mount Weather to get everybody. And they like weeks, it just says weeks of onyx training goes by. So Dee actually asks Kat to go prom dress shopping, which is like big step, right? And Kat's like, I wasn't planning on going. And she's like, why aren't you going? And so then there's this really sweet moment, because Damon's there, where Damon asks her to the prom. So Damon asks her to the prom, and she agrees to go. And so they decide they're going to go, prom dress shopping. So throughout the book, Katie keeps thinking that once she goes to sleep, Damon is coming in and holding her at night while she's asleep. And she wakes up and there's this clean citrusy scent on her pillow. But she always describes Damon as having this kind of outdoorsy, woodsy, fresh scent. Okay. So one day in class, Blake reaches over to pull a piece of lint off of Katie's nose or shoulder or something. And she catches that same citrusy scent and she puts two and two together. And she about flips full-on alien hybrid in class again. They get to the stairwell, and she blasts him with her light thing. What you see me like I'm Iron Man or something. Anyway. she blasts him with her alien hybrid mojo, and she like confronts him. She's like, you know, I know you've been coming in my room at night. And so he tells her that he was patrolling because he had seen Daedalus officers keep an eye on her while he was keeping an eye on her. So he was patrolling, and he would check on her, and she would be having nightmares, and he wanted to comfort her, so he was holding her. She's just like, don't ever do that again. And he's like, okay, I won't. So later, she and Damon are at her house, and Damon's like, let's go to your room. She's like, okay, we'll go to my room. And it's a surprise. He got her a MacBook Air because her laptop got destroyed when Carissa was in her room. That's 2 laptops already that Kat has. The first one was her and Damon making out, and she got a replacement. And then Carissa blew up the replacement. So, and she's always wanted a MacBook, so Damon got her a MacBook, and it's just this really sweet, like, moment. And then when they get ready to go practice, Kat is looking under her bed for her flip-flop to wear to walk down to the lake. And she uses her alien mojo to kind of, like, pull it to her, and gets instead the opal from Carissa's bracelet. So they're like, well, this is our chance to kind of try it out and see, does it counteract the onyx? So they go down to the lake before everybody else and try and find out that it does counteract the onyx. So Damon like hides it away to keep it safe. The girls end up going shopping for their prom dresses. And then when Kat gets home from shopping with the girls, I'm telling you, like, y'all, so much stuff happens in this freaking book. It's like boom, boom, boom. Like, Katie cannot catch a break to save her life. When she gets home from prom dress shopping with the girls, freaking Will, the psycho dude that locked her in a cage and made Damon mutate him, is in her kitchen, sitting at her counter. And the mutation failed, and his cancer came back like with a vengeance, even worse than the first time. And he's got a gun, and he plans on killing her and then killing her mama when her mama gets home. Yeah. So I literally wrote, oh crap. He shoots, Kat zaps him, but she still gets hit, and it's bad. Like, she's hit in the stomach. And so Dee finds her, and Dawson and Andrew bring Damon in because he's hurt too, because their lives are connected since he healed her. And so Dee is trying to heal her because she's afraid that it'll take too much energy from Damon, but Damon's like, no, because then Dee's life would be linked to his and Kat's, and if something happened to one of them, something happened to all 3 of them. So Damon finds the strength from somewhere to save Kat. So when she wakes up, she has this kind of a existential crisis, because she's basically like, you know, it was a little too easy for me morally to zap Will and be done, knowing how weak he was and how sick he was. And does that make me as big a monster as Blake? And Damon's like, no, you're nothing like Blake. So he kind of talks her down. And they actually, I think, do the do for the first time. And it's perfect, because it's like just enough detail with just enough poetry that it's just this beautiful moment with the 2 of them. It's wonderful. Damon gives her the opal, like on a string. He makes a necklace out of a string or something. He wants her to wear it. And, Dee comes over later on. Dee comes over and helps Kat get ready for prom. So, that's where they kind of make up, is while Dee's over there spending hours on Kat's hair and makeup, getting her ready for prom. Damon comes over to pick her up, and Kat's mom's taking lots of pictures, and, you know, it's just really cute. And then Damon's taking pictures of Kat and her mom. And then when Damon and Katie go to leave, Katie's mom is like, you know, kind of like, don't do nothing I wouldn't do, and there's nothing I wouldn't do with that boy. She tells her she ain't got no curfew, so she pretty much just like giving her the blessing to make all the mad, passionate alien love she wants to with Damon. So at the prom, they're all together, they're all hanging out together, they're all having a good time. And then Katie is dancing with Damon, and she has her eyes closed, and then kind of opens her eyes and looks up, and Blake is staring at them. Like, what? Like just when you think, like, you know, he was creepy in the last book. There was things in the last book you're like, that's kind of creepy. And you think he can't get creepier, and then he gets creepier. So when they leave the prom, Damon takes her to the lake for a surprise, their lake. And y'all, it's so sweet. So Damon has set up a pallet of like blankets, and he's got a cooler, and there's a fire. And so they just lay out by the lake and just like talk and just kind of spend time alone together, because they haven't had that much time alone together. And it's just awesome. And when they start talking about the mission to go back to Mount Weather, Kat starts to get, you know, a little anxious, which is understandable because she got sprayed with onyx last time. And Damon kisses her and says, so this is a quote. This is one of my quotes. Let's not think about tomorrow. Let's not think about next week or the next night. It's just us right now and nothing else. Damon. So the next day, Kat spends as much time with her mom as she can, because she knows if this goes wrong, she might not ever see her mom again, right? Because Beth's been gone for, at this point, probably like 2 years. So Damon gives her the opal to wear. They head for Mount Weather. They get through the gate. They get through the door. They get through the tunnel with the onyx. They make it to Beth's cell. And it is this, oh gosh, it really is this like beautiful moment with Dawson and Beth, because you don't know, because, you know, Beth was acting kind of like with Katie when Katie found her. So you don't know what Beth's going to be like, but they actually like hold each other and they cry and they kiss, and it's just this beautiful reunion, right? Blake comes through carrying Chris. He's like, we got to go. You know, we're on a time, because Luck only cut off the cameras and security for like 15 minutes. So they're like on a time limit, you know. When they go to leave, Simon shows up. Simon, the handsy, creepy jock dude that tried to rape Kat at homecoming, shows up. He has been mutated. He's wearing a black opal. They all start fighting. He blasts Kat in the leg. Damon ends up like breaking his neck to kill him. And they're leaving, right? And they're in the tunnel. So they're almost out. And Blake makes it to the other end of the tunnel. And when he does, he kind of turns around, and him and Kat kind of like meet eyes. And I think that's when Kat realizes something's wrong, because Blake is holding her opal necklace. And then he tells her, sorry, it has to be this way. And then 7 Arams show up. Those are the bad aliens. Those are the ones that like to eat the Luxon, or absorb, not eat them like, you know, like cannibals, but absorb their powers. And the 7 Arams show up. They let Blake go. So now it's Kat, Damon, Dawson, Matthew, I think, all fighting against, Matthew. Fighting against these 7 Aram. And they actually take out, I think, 3 of them, and there's 4 Aram left. And Kat's fighting this one, and he sweeps her leg, the bad leg that Simon hit. And, of course, all I could think about, y'all, is freaking sweep the leg from Karate Kid. So the gates are starting to close, the doors are starting to close, whatever. So they make a run for it, right? They're like, screw the Aram, let's just get out. So they make a run for it. And an Aram grabs Kat's bad leg, and she goes down, okay? Then the lasers start up. And these lasers are like, will cut you into like fish sticks lasers, okay? Kat and Damon get separated by a laser. Like, everybody else is through the tunnel. Kat's in the back because that Aram grabbed her by the leg. The laser, I think, actually gets the Aram and like zaps him like a bug zapper. He's no more. Kat and Damon get separated by a laser. Damon, knowing he's going to turn into freaking fish sticks, is coming for Kat anyway because he's Damon. And Kat uses the source to push him And when she pushes him, Matthew grabs him and is dragging him towards the gate, towards the door. I was like crying because it's just like this, oh my God, moment in this book. Okay. Damon is like fighting Matthew. He's like punching Matthew. He's trying to get to Kat, which he can't get to Kat, but it's Damon. He loves Kat. Now, Damon has yet to say, I love you. And Kat will say it to him. She'll say, I love you. And he'll be like, say it again, like he loves hearing it, but he hadn't told her. So Matthew's dragging him out. Him and Kat are looking at each other, right? They're like looking at each other as Matthew's dragging him out and he's fighting. And he actually tells her he loves her. And then the doors close. And that's the end of the book. I know. That's the end. Now you know why Kaylee says it's the worst cliffhanger ever. Because you literally don't even know. You don't know if Damon made it out. I mean, you think they do because they were on their way out the door and then the door's closed. But what if there's Aram on the other side of the door? What if the DOD's on the other side of the door? Like, we don't know. And Kat is left with Aram on the other side of the door. So, it's just, yeah. So, that's the end of Opal. And next it'll be Origin, which is the next book in the series, which is book 5. So, we're almost to the end of the Lux series, y'all. It's so good though. Like I would totally recommend this book. I'm loving rereading the Lux series. It's an awesome series. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next time, okay?